Is it worth it? I don't know if it's worth it. Had these feelings before, right? Obviously, there's situations that you're going to have this. I think because this is so real now for me, I don't know. So I just had a situation that I really wanted to talk about, and it really has challenged my thinking. I don't think my thinking has been challenged this hard, at least intrinsically myself. This has been challenged this hard in a long, long time. So, to give you some context for this, I've been really considering quitting my job here, like seriously, seriously, this past couple months. A little bit of a background on me, if you guys don't know who I am. Small town, northern Canada. I work a shift job, and it's pretty brutal shift job. It's 12-hour shifts. Sometimes I'm working, 5 days a week. I have a stretch of like 7 days straight coming up here, and I also have night shifts. If you guys have never worked night shifts, especially 12-hour night shifts, you'll know how brutal it is. Specifically, if you're trying to build a business online, right? My first day off is off of my night shift. It's not a day off. If any of you know this, you're sleeping, then you're tired, then you get waves of sleepiness and not. Then you go to bed at 10, even though you're so tired, you can't fall asleep till 1. Wake up at noon the next day, you're kind of back to normal, right? That's really big generalization there. But regardless, what just happened to me really makes me question if this is the right path. The path I'm referring to, I myself want a life of influence, right? I myself want a life that I make a difference, right? For me, I want to be the smartest person I possibly can. I want to be the wisest person I possibly can. I want to be someone that truly means something. I want to be someone that, as my mentor talks about, the 1%, right? You have to be in the 1% of a certain discipline in order for you to be great. And I want to be that outlet, not just for myself, but for others. And that contrasts where I grew up. And I'll get to what just happened here in a second. This kind of explains it, and this will give you more context. How I grew up, right? Little farming town. My great grandfather was an immigrant from the Ukraine, grew up on this farm. Some of the hardest working people, I've ever heard of in my life. My grandpa, he's 87, right? He's still working on the farm every single day, still working on the farm. Some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. And their life, right, is very Christian value, very small, family oriented. The ideal life for my family, for someone living around here, is to, you know, get a good job, come home, get a good wife, have a few kids, have 2 dogs, raise 10 cattle on your nice little farm, make hay in the summer, all of this. I'm not saying that's wrong, and I'm not squandering that in any way, shape, or form at all. However, that is not the life I want. As not unfortunate, but that's not the life I want, right? Like I said, I want a life of influence. I want a life exactly how I explained. And a little bit more background on my job. So my job I got largely because I had a family member who worked there. I still think I would have for sure had that job eventually, but I probably got on there as quick as I did because of my family member. And so my family member got me this job, and as of recently, like I've made plans. I've a lot of stuff I've considered within my book. Trying to think mental models like Charlie Munger, some of my mentors, how they're telling me to think, go about these situations. Some of my mentors have already told me to quit. And I made this plan and I showed my parents. I showed my parents. And because obviously at the end of the day, I'm living with my parents. They're extremely blessed. They're letting me live here for now. Um, and I told them, right, as rightfully I have to, I should. And we had an hour-long conversation where, they didn't want me doing it. And rightfully so, as Stephen Covey talks about 7 habits of highly effective people. We'll have scripts that we have growing up, and especially if you're not self-aware, you'll grow up with ideas or scripts, right? You reenact scripts that you just don't dispute, right? Especially if you're not self-aware. And I'm not saying this in a negative way whatsoever, but they've grown up in a way where what I'm doing is not the right way, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? They're really, what is right or wrong. What they think is right is right. What I think is right is right. And we had a conversation just trying to get the best situation possible. And after this, I realized, and I know this, I've been Jordan Peterson. If any of you know who Jordan Peterson is, I love Jordan Peterson. He's actually from like a town an hour and a half away from me. Nobody lives an hour and a half of significance lives an hour and a half away from me, right? I literally live in the middle of nowhere. And so I went to, actually, this would have been like almost exactly a year from today. It was April 7th, 2025. And I went to a seminar in Grand Prairie, if you guys know where Grand Prairie is. And he was there. And he talked about basically what I'm talking about now. And one point that really stood out is like he talks about there's always going to be a desire for higher power. And if you have that desire, it's your duty to fulfill it. And he also talks about like parents, right? And your fathers, you in good conscience have to send your children out, your sons out into the world to become sharpened, to become um, you know, better, right? It's a risk, but in hopes that you send your son out to the world, he comes back better. Now, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not even going to share my opinion on that. At the end of the day, I'm not going to dispute Jordan Peterson. But basically, it's a risk to send your children out into the world, but it's a risk that can bear fruit. And it's a hard decision, right? That's the root of risk, right? There's obviously some chance of failure. And that was basically the whole premise of my parents. If anything was said but not said. And, again, evolutionary psychology, talk about this too. Your parents want the best for you all the time, right? And I know no matter how hard I am going to push for this or try to get them to see my point of view or basically have them in a state where they're not worrying about me if I do this is going to be next to impossible. And I've realized, is it even worth it at this point? I know what I do. If I truly with conviction know that it's my duty, right? As Jordan Peterson says, if I know in good conscience that I have a higher calling and I have to fulfill that, I don't know why. I know why I have to fulfill it. I don't know why I have to fulfill it. I know why I want to do it, but I don't know what that gnawing feeling inside is that like I have to do this. And I know that if I do this, it's going to cause a lot of stress, a lot of pain to my parents, right? The people that I love the most. And then I have a very intense internal clash, a very intense clash within myself that it's like, do I carry out what it is I want to do? Do I carry out what I feel like I was born to do? Or do I settle for making my parents happy and fulfilling the life that they want me to fulfill? And that really, really brings it full circle to the main thing, whatever I'm going to title this video. But like, is it even worth it? Is it worth it, truthfully? I have on my whiteboard here, do it for mom and dad, remember. Most important people in my life, right? Like everything I do, I want them to benefit from, right? Like my dad works, he doesn't like the job that he works. I want to retire him, right? Like that feeling in me is so strong. I only want the best for them. And if what I'm doing is going to come at a detriment to them, at least even for a time being, is it worth it? Like truthfully, where is that line drawn between what it is I want to do and the hardship I'm going to cause other people for doing it? I know at the end of the day, it's just you, but to a certain extent, especially your parents, your family, read evolutionary psychology, right? Understand the parental urges, right? The parental um, the feelings that people have, right? From our biology. It's not just, I'm going to do this, don't worry about me. It's, I'm going to do this and they're going to worry about me, right? It's a risk I'm willing to take, but they're also going to feel that risk as much as I hate it. And then that begs the question, is that hardship I'm going to cause actually going to be worth it? I know the possibilities are endless, but us as humans, we're risk averse, right? We're not reward averse. We will do more to prevent a loss than for a subsequent gain, right? Put that into more simple terms. We're always looking at how to avoid a failure. Sorry, we're looking, our feelings to avoid a failure are more strong than to gain something. So our feelings to avoid a failure are going to override our feelings and actions to gain something. For me, as an entrepreneur, I've had to rewrite this. 100% I've had to rewrite this. This is not natural thinking. And my parents, again, those scripts they grew up with, like, really, there's nothing wrong with anyone's way to live. I mean, certain extent, right? Obviously, you got some moral things you have to abide by, especially in the social contract. Freud, civilization has discontents. Everyone signs a social contract in basically rewards of a benefit of an organized society. Let's not go off topic. But that life I described at the beginning, that like you marry a good girl, you buy a house on a farm, have a few kids, have a few dogs. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Like I'm telling you right now, if I didn't have this gnawing feeling in me that I have to do more, that I have to achieve what it is I want to achieve, that would be a pretty sweet life. But I think everyone kind of, to a certain extent, craves that. But regardless, is it worth it? I don't know if it's worth it. Had these feelings before, right? Obviously, there's situations that you're going to have this. I think because this is so real now for me, before I was working a job, right? That's what my parents wanted. I was putting away enough money. It's what they wanted. Now I'm going to blow all of that up. And realistically, everything I've worked for 3 years, 4 years, since high school, I'm a power engineer. I got my engineering ticket in high school. Did that college course through it. Is going to be gone at least for a year. The gains out of that can be substantial, but the hardship in that year, is it going to be worth it? I don't know. Logically thinking, a year of hardship for the rest of your life gains, I think it's a no-brainer, but you can't just look at it like that, right? Especially from an outside perspective. You can't look at it like that. But if I were to stay at my job, right, parents would be happy, but I wouldn't gain as much as I could gain if I were to do that. So, lot hard decisions, a lot of things to consider. I don't know. I always feel like I know to some extent. At this point, I don't even know. A lesson to take from this. Again, I always want to end with a lesson for you watching. These situations. The best things in life, the decisions that have the most potential for upside are going to be hard, right? That's just how it is, right? Nothing good ever came from the comfort zone. We all know this. And the best decisions, the most risky decisions are the ones that are going to provide the most chance, not the most chance, but the most subsequent reward, right? Risk and reward. Economics. I don't know if it's a law of economics, but those hard decisions, man, those are where the growth is made, but they're hard decisions for a reason, right? There's just one dimension of that. So something to consider. Take with it what you will. But yeah, I think probably one of the hardest strains on my thinking I've ever had after tonight. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you got value out of it. Make sure to subscribe, follow the journey for more. Again, just trying to document everything. I know I'm going to make it. What that journey looks like or how long or where it takes me, I don't know, especially after tonight. But that's that. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Follow me, DM me on Instagram too. If you guys have any insight on this, please let me know. It's really easy for you to objectively look in your own cocoon. If you have any, subjectively look in your own cocoon. If you have any objective thoughts on this, right, outside perspective, please share it. I would love to hear it. But yeah, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.